The market where the train passes every day. A sleep story from Thailand Through Eyes. Chapter 1. I thought it was just a tourist attraction. Before I came to Thailand, I thought I had already seen everything unusual that a market could offer. I had wandered through floating markets in Europe. I had visited Christmas markets in Germany. I had explored night markets in Taiwan and street bazaars in Morocco. So when someone told me there was a market in Thailand where a train passed directly through the middle of the vendors every day, I assumed it was exaggerated, a clever tourist performance. A show designed for visitors with cameras, nothing more. At least, that was what I believed. My name is Oliver. I am a travel writer from England. Several years ago, I arrived in Thailand with a notebook, a backpack, and far too many assumptions. One quiet morning in Bangkok, while drinking coffee beside a small canal, I heard a local man mention a place called the Maeklong Railway Market, a market built directly on active train tracks. Every day, multiple trains rolled through the center, and every day, the market simply moved aside and continued as if nothing unusual had happened. The story sounded impossible. That was exactly why I wanted to see it. A few days later, before sunrise, I boarded a small train heading southwest. The city slowly disappeared behind me. Concrete buildings became open fields. Billboards gave way to coconut palms. The morning air felt cooler than Bangkok. Mist floated over rice paddies. The world seemed to wake slowly, patiently, as if there was no hurry anywhere. The train rattled gently. The rhythmic sound of steel wheels against the rails became almost hypnotic. Around me sat local commuters. Some carried baskets. Others held plastic bags filled with breakfast. Nobody seemed excited. Nobody spoke about the famous market. To them, this train ride was simply part of ordinary life. That fascinated me, because extraordinary things often appear ordinary to those who live beside them every day. The journey lasted several hours. Eventually, the train approached a small town. The conductor announced our arrival. I stepped onto the platform. The morning sun had begun warming the streets. Birds sang from electrical wires. Motorcycles hummed softly nearby. And somewhere in the distance, I could smell grilled pork cooking over charcoal. I followed a narrow road toward the market. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Vendors arranged vegetables. Fruit sellers stacked mangoes. Fishmongers displayed the morning catch. Children walked beside their parents. The atmosphere felt calm, peaceful, completely normal. Then I looked down and froze. The market stalls were sitting directly on railway tracks. Not beside them, not near them, directly on top of them. Fresh vegetables occupied spaces between steel rails. Plastic baskets rested inches from the tracks. Umbrellas stretched overhead. Tables crossed the railway line. Customers casually walked where trains were supposed to travel. I blinked. Surely I was missing something. Perhaps the railway had been abandoned. Perhaps the trains no longer operated. Yet everyone behaved as though this arrangement was perfectly reasonable. I approached an elderly woman selling bananas. "Excuse me," I said. She smiled warmly. "Yes? Do trains still use these tracks?" She laughed, not loudly, just enough to reveal that she had heard this question many times before. "Of course." I looked around. "Really?" She nodded. "Several times every day." I stared at the rails, then at her fruit, then back at the rails. The entire situation felt impossible. She pointed toward a nearby clock. "Next train soon." "How soon?" "Maybe 30 minutes." I thanked her and continued walking. The market stretched farther than I expected. Vendors sold seafood, spices, flowers, coconut sweets, clothing, and household items. Everything seemed carefully arranged. Despite the fact that trains regularly passed through the center, the deeper I walked into the market, the more I noticed something interesting. Nobody seemed worried. Nobody seemed stressed. There were no warning signs, no barriers, no panic, just life, normal life. An elderly man trimmed fish. A grandmother negotiated prices. A young couple selected vegetables for dinner. Children laughed. Cats slept beneath tables. The railway existed alongside daily routines, not separate from them. The rails were simply another part of the neighborhood. The smell of seafood mixed with fresh herbs. The scent of basil drifted through the warm air. Nearby, someone brewed strong Thai coffee. Its aroma floated across the market. The atmosphere felt strangely comforting. The longer I stayed, the more I forgot about the train. I became absorbed in the small details. The rhythm of conversations, the sound of knives chopping vegetables, the clink of coins changing hands, the smiles exchanged between neighbors. Then suddenly, everything changed. A bell rang somewhere ahead, not loud, not alarming, simply clear. Vendors immediately began moving. Customers stepped aside. Umbrellas folded inward. Tables shifted. Goods disappeared from the tracks. The transformation happened with astonishing speed. Nobody shouted. Nobody rushed. Everyone knew exactly what to do. It looked like a carefully practiced dance. A dance performed thousands of times. I watched with amazement. Within moments, the railway was clear. And then I heard it, far away. The low rumble of an approaching train. The sound grew louder, closer, steadier. The rails vibrated beneath my feet. And for the first time, I realized the stories were true. The train was really coming, right through the middle of the market. And as sunlight reflected from the steel tracks, I stood there holding my notebook, wondering if I was about to witness one of the most remarkable scenes in all of Thailand. The train continued approaching, slowly, patiently, as though it had all the time in the world, and somehow everyone around me seemed perfectly at peace. Chapter 2. When the market learned to dance with the train. The distant rumble grew louder. I stood beside a stall filled with baskets of fresh lychees, my notebook forgotten in my hand. Around me, nobody seemed alarmed. Nobody appeared nervous. The vendors continued smiling. Customers stepped politely to the side. The atmosphere felt surprisingly calm. If anything, it felt like everyone was preparing to greet an old friend. The steel rails beneath my feet vibrated gently. A moment later, the train appeared around a bend. Its yellow and red front emerged slowly between rows of market stalls. For a brief second, my mind struggled to understand what I was seeing. The train was enormous. The market was narrow. There seemed to be almost no space between them, yet nobody panicked. The train moved forward at walking speed, slow, steady, careful. A vendor selling dried fish casually folded the final edge of her umbrella. Another merchant lifted a basket from the tracks. A young boy helped his grandmother move a small stool. Everything happened smoothly, naturally, as if they had rehearsed it thousands of times, which in truth they had. The train crept closer. The metal body passed only inches from stacks of vegetables. Passengers leaned from windows. Some smiled and waved. Tourists inside raised cameras. The vendors waved back. A few even laughed. For a moment, the entire market felt connected by one shared rhythm. The train rolled through. The market waited, and then life continued. I watched in complete amazement. The distance between the train and some stalls seemed impossibly small. A basket of mangoes sat mere centimeters away, yet nobody appeared concerned. The trust between people and routine was extraordinary. The train's horn sounded softly, not as a warning, more like a greeting, a familiar sound heard every day. The wheels clicked gently along the rails. The engine passed. Then another carriage. Then another. The entire train moved through the market like a river flowing through a valley. Slowly, predictably, peacefully. I found myself smiling, not because it was exciting, but because it was beautiful. The scene possessed an unexpected grace. The train was not interrupting the market. The market was not fighting against the train. Instead, both seemed to coexist, each making room for the other. The final carriage eventually passed. The rumbling faded. The rails became quiet once more. Then something remarkable happened. Within seconds, the market returned. Umbrellas unfolded. Tables rolled back. Baskets returned to their original positions. Goods reappeared. Customers resumed shopping. The transformation was almost magical. Less than a minute after the train left, there was barely any evidence it had passed at all. The market looked exactly as it had before. Only now I understood what made this place special. It wasn't the train. It wasn't even the railway. It was the people. I continued walking through the market. The morning sun climbed higher. Golden light reflected from piles of fresh fruit. Bright red chilies glowed beneath colorful awnings. Fish scales shimmered like tiny mirrors. Everywhere I looked, life moved at a gentle pace. An elderly man sat beside baskets of coconuts. His face was lined with age. His smile was warm. I stopped beside him. "Doesn't it ever become difficult?" I asked. He looked amused. "The train?" I nodded. "Yes." He laughed softly. "No. But you have to move everything several times a day." He shrugged. "It is normal." I smiled. "For you, maybe." The old man chuckled. "For visitors, always surprising." He picked up a coconut and examined it. Then he spoke again. "When you live somewhere long enough, you learn how to live with what comes." I wrote those words down immediately. When you live somewhere long enough, you learn how to live with what comes. Simple, yet surprisingly wise. The old man pointed toward the tracks. "Train comes." He pointed toward the market. "Market moves." Then he smiled. "Life continues." His answer sounded almost philosophical. Perhaps it was. I thanked him and continued exploring. The market stretched farther than I expected. Seafood vendors displayed enormous prawns resting on ice. Fresh squid lay neatly arranged. Nearby, women sold fragrant herbs, bundles of lemongrass, Thai basil, galangal, makrut lime leaves. The scents drifted through the warm air, fresh, earthy, comforting. As I wandered, I noticed something else. Many vendors knew one another. They greeted each other constantly, sharing food, sharing jokes, checking on neighbors. The market felt less like a business center and more like a community. People weren't simply selling goods, they were maintaining relationships. I stopped near a stall selling grilled bananas. The woman behind the stall offered me one. I purchased a small portion. The sweet aroma of caramelized fruit filled the air. As I ate, I watched local customers interact. No one appeared rushed. People chatted, asked about families, discussed weather, exchanged stories. The market functioned as a gathering place, a social space, a living part of the town. Back home, many markets had become places people hurried through. Buy what you need, leave, move on. But here, things felt different. Time moved more slowly. People seemed more interested in connection than efficiency. The realization stayed with me. Perhaps that was one reason this market survived. Not because of tourists, not because of novelty, but because it still served its community. As noon approached, the heat increased. Fans spun lazily overhead. Shadows shortened beneath awnings. The smell of cooking food became stronger. Nearby, a small food stall attracted a steady crowd. I found an empty seat and ordered lunch. A bowl of noodles arrived. Steam rose into the warm air. The broth smelled rich and fragrant. As I ate, I watched daily life continue around me. An old woman carefully counted coins. A young man delivered fresh vegetables. Children carried bags for their grandparents. Every scene felt ordinary, yet somehow meaningful. The train market wasn't extraordinary because trains passed through it. It was extraordinary because people had learned to adapt without losing their sense of peace. The railway had existed here for generations. Instead of fighting it, the community had adjusted. They had created a rhythm, a balance, a way of living together. And perhaps that was a lesson I hadn't expected to find. Back in England, people often complained when life changed unexpectedly. Road construction, delays, new developments, anything that disrupted routine. But here was an entire market built around adaptation, a place where flexibility had become part of local culture. As afternoon sunlight softened, I noticed the bell ring once again. The second train of the day was approaching. Vendors began their familiar routine. Umbrellas folded, goods moved, customers stepped aside. The dance began again. This time, however, I wasn't watching the train. I was watching the people. Their movements were calm, confident, almost graceful, like musicians playing a song they had known all their lives. And as the train slowly entered the market once more, I began realizing that this place was teaching me something much larger than transportation. It was teaching me about adaptation, about patience, and about the quiet wisdom hidden inside everyday Thai life. Chapter 3: The Woman Who Sold Fish Beside the Rails. By the time the second train disappeared, I no longer felt like I was watching something strange. I felt like I was listening to a story, not a story written in books, but a story written in movement, the folding of umbrellas, the lifting of baskets, the soft warning bell, the slow return of tables, the laughter after the train had passed. Everything had a rhythm. Everything had a place. I walked deeper into the market, where the smell of the sea became stronger. There, beside the tracks, I met a woman named Molly. She sold fish. Her stall was simple but carefully arranged. Silver mackerel lay in neat rows. Small crabs rested in blue baskets. Fresh shrimp sparkled on crushed ice. Her hands moved quickly as she worked, cutting, sorting, weighing, wrapping, yet her face remained calm. When I asked if I could sit nearby for a while, she smiled. Of course, but be careful when the train comes. I laughed softly. I think everyone has told me that today. She looked at me with kind amusement. Because visitors forget. Do locals ever forget? She shook her head. No, the train is part of our clock. I loved that phrase. Part of our clock. For Molly, time was not only measured by numbers. It was measured by sound, by bells, by wheels, by movement through the market. I asked how long she had worked there. Since I was a girl, she said. My mother sold fish here. Before her, my aunt sold vegetables. So your family has always been here? Long time, she replied. The market changes, but people stay. She handed a bag of fish to an elderly customer, accepted a few notes, and returned to our conversation as if no time had passed. Do tourists bother you? I asked. She considered this. Sometimes they stand too close to the train. Then she smiled. But most are kind. They are surprised. I was surprised too. I know. How? She pointed at my notebook. People with notebooks are always surprised. We both laughed. A breeze moved through the narrow market. It carried the smell of grilled seafood, ripe fruit, and damp wood. Above us, the awnings cast soft shadows over the tracks. The railway lines ran directly beneath Molly's stall. Her fish baskets were positioned so precisely that they could be moved in seconds. Nothing was random. Every object had its place. A knife, a scale, a bucket, a cloth, a wooden stool. This was not chaos. It was organization, shaped by experience. I asked her if she had ever wanted to move somewhere easier, somewhere without a train passing through her shop. She paused, then looked down at the rails. Easier is not always better. The answer surprised me. She continued, Here, people know me. I know them. My customers know which fish I keep for soup, which for frying, which for curry. She smiled gently. If I move, maybe life is easier, but maybe I lose something. What would you lose? She looked around the market. Belonging. The word settled between us. Belonging. A simple word. Yet it seemed to explain the entire place. This market was not just a place to buy food. It was a place where lives overlapped. A vendor knew a customer's favorite ingredient. A grandmother knew which stall gave the freshest herbs. A child knew where to find a sweet snack after school. Everyone belonged to a small pattern. And the train belonged too. Molly noticed me looking thoughtful. In Thailand, she said, we often live close to many things. Family, neighbors, noise, weather, roads, temples, markets. We learn to make space. Make space, I repeated. She nodded. For others, for problems, for changes. Then she pointed to the railway. For the train. Her explanation felt gentle but deep. In many places, people imagine comfort as distance. A large house, a quiet street, personal space, clear separation. But here, comfort seemed to come from harmony, from adjusting, from noticing, from making room. I thought of the Thai word I had heard many times during my trip, namjai, water of the heart. Kindness expressed through small actions. A seat offered, a bag carried, food shared, space made. At Maeklong Railway Market, Namjai appeared not as a grand gesture, but as daily coordination. People watched out for one another. They warned tourists. They helped older vendors. They moved baskets for neighbors. They made sure the market was safe before the train arrived. No one seemed to say, "This is not my problem." Instead, everyone quietly participated. The next train was still hours away, so the market relaxed again. Molly invited me to taste a small piece of grilled fish from a nearby stall. "It is better when hot," she said. I followed her recommendation. The fish was smoky, tender, and lightly salted. Beside it came a small bag of spicy sauce. The flavor woke me immediately. Bright lime, chili, garlic, fish sauce, sweetness, heat, everything balanced. Molly watched my reaction and laughed. "Too spicy?" "A little," I admitted. "But good. Thai food must wake up the tongue," she said. "Even in a sleep story?" She laughed again. "Then only a little chilly." We sat for a few quiet minutes. Around us, the market breathed. A fan turned slowly. A motorbike passed outside. Someone chopped herbs. A child counted coins. A cat stretched beneath a table and returned to sleep. I began to understand something about Thai markets. They are not only commercial spaces, they are emotional spaces, places where memory is stored, where families continue old routines, where food carries history, where relationships are measured not only in money, but in trust. Molly told me that some customers had bought fish from her mother decades ago. Now their children came to buy from her. "Sometimes I know what they need before they say it," she said. "How?" "Because I remember." That was another quiet lesson. Memory. In a fast world, memory becomes rare. Many places forget quickly. New buildings replace old shops. Digital orders replace conversations. Convenience replaces familiarity. But in this market, memory remained alive. Not perfectly. Not romantically. But practically, a vendor remembered a family. A customer remembered a taste. A child remembered the sound of the train. The place held them all. Later in the afternoon, I wandered to a small tea stall near the edge of the market. An old man there poured Thai tea over ice. The orange liquid swirled with milk. The glass grew cold in my hands. I sat on a plastic chair and watched light shift across the rails. By then, my earlier disbelief had softened. I no longer thought, how can a market exist on train tracks? Instead, I wondered, what does this market know that I have forgotten? Perhaps it knew that life is rarely perfectly arranged. Homes are built near roads. Families grow around difficulties. Work continues through rain, heat, noise, and change. People adapt not because life is easy, but because life asks them to. And when adaptation is shared, it becomes culture. The bell rang again as evening approached. This time, I helped Molly move one small basket. She looked surprised, then pleased. "Now you are part of the market," she said, "only for a moment." But that moment mattered. The train came slowly. The market folded open like a flower closing for night. Then, after the train passed, it opened again. Molly returned her fish to the edge of the tracks. The old man poured more tea. The cat did not wake, and I stood there quietly, realizing that my idea of Thailand had changed again. I had come looking for something strange, something dramatic, something impossible. But what I found was gentler. I found people who lived gracefully with interruption, people who knew how to move aside without surrendering their place, people who understood that harmony is not the absence of disturbance. Sometimes, harmony is the art of returning calmly after the train has passed. Chapter 4. The Secret Hidden Between the Rails. As the afternoon slowly drifted toward evening, the sunlight softened. The market changed with it. The bright intensity of midday faded into warm golden colors. Long shadows stretched across the railway tracks. The metal rails glowed softly beneath the setting sun. The heat eased. A cool breeze arrived from somewhere beyond the town. For the first time all day, I stopped writing. I simply sat and listened. The market sounded different in the evening. The morning had been busy, energetic, full of deliveries and preparation. Now, the atmosphere felt slower, more reflective. Vendors chatted more. Customers lingered longer. Children returned from school. The entire market seemed to exhale. I sat beside a small tea stall where an elderly man named Somchai poured tea from an old aluminum kettle. His movements were slow and careful. Nothing rushed, nothing wasted. After watching him for several minutes, I asked a question that had been growing in my mind all day. Why didn't the market move somewhere else? Somchai smiled immediately, as though he had expected the question. Many visitors probably asked the same thing. He placed a glass of tea in front of me. Then he looked toward the railway, because the railway came after the market. That answer surprised me. I had assumed the opposite. Somchai nodded. The market was already important long before tourists came. He stirred his tea thoughtfully. Long ago, people traveled mostly by boat. I listened carefully. The evening breeze moved gently through the market. The smell of grilled squid floated nearby. Somewhere a radio played quiet Thai music. Somchai continued. When the railway arrived many years ago, it helped farmers bring food into town. It helped people travel. It helped businesses grow. So the market stayed? He nodded. The railway became part of life. I looked down the tracks. Part of life. That phrase appeared again. All day, people had spoken about the train as though it were a neighbor rather than a machine. Not an inconvenience. Not an enemy. Simply part of daily existence. Somchai noticed my curiosity. In many places, he said, people think they must choose. Choose what? Old things or new things? I nodded. He continued. But sometimes people find a way to keep both. I watched the railway disappearing into the distance. The market had not defeated the train. The train had not defeated the market. Neither had won. Neither had lost. They had simply learned to live together. The idea felt strangely profound. Back home, people often spoke about progress as replacement. The new replaces the old. The modern replaces the traditional. The faster replaces the slower. Yet here in Thailand, I kept discovering another approach. Instead of replacing, people often blended. Ancient temples stood beside modern buildings. Street food thrived beside shopping malls. Old customs continued inside modern cities. And here, at Maeklong, a traditional market continued to exist alongside an active railway. Not perfectly, not neatly, but successfully. The evening train arrived shortly afterward. By now, I knew exactly what would happen. The bell rang. Umbrellas folded. Tables moved. Customers stepped aside. The train entered. Slowly, gracefully, almost respectfully. This time, I watched the faces around me. Nobody seemed annoyed. Nobody rolled their eyes. Nobody complained. Instead, people smiled. Some chatted while waiting. Others used the moment to stretch their legs. A few vendors joked with each other. The interruption had become part of the rhythm, part of the day, and perhaps that was the true secret of the market. Not adaptation, not efficiency, acceptance. The ability to accept what cannot be changed and still create a meaningful life around it. As the train passed, I remember something I had noticed many times during my journey through Thailand. The country seemed remarkably comfortable with imperfection. Roadside food stalls beside luxury hotels, ancient wooden houses beside concrete buildings, unexpected rain, busy streets, power lines, markets, temples, everything coexisted. Not because people ignored imperfections, but because they focused on living rather than controlling everything. The train eventually disappeared into the distance. Its rumble faded. The market reopened once again, as if breathing in after holding its breath. And life continued. A little later, I wandered toward the far end of the market. Tourist numbers had decreased. Most visitors had already left. The atmosphere felt quieter, more local, more authentic. An elderly woman sold handmade coconut sweets. A grandfather repaired fishing nets. Teenagers sat together sharing drinks. The market no longer felt like an attraction. It felt like a neighborhood. The realization changed everything. Earlier that morning, I had arrived searching for a spectacle, something unusual to write about, something readers would find entertaining. But now I understood that the most interesting part of the story wasn't the train. It was the community. The train simply revealed it. Without the train, visitors might never notice how closely people cooperated, how much trust existed, how smoothly everyone worked together. The railway exposed something deeper, the character of the people themselves. As sunset approached, golden light filled the market. The rails reflected orange and gold. The umbrellas glowed softly. The entire place looked almost dreamlike, beautiful in a quiet way. I returned to Molly's fish stall one last time. She was packing away some supplies for the evening. "Leaving tomorrow?" she asked. "Yes." She smiled. "Did you find your story?" I looked around. The railway, the stalls, the fading sunlight, the familiar faces. And then I smiled. Not the story I expected. She laughed. "That usually means it is a good one." I thanked her for her kindness, for the fish, for the conversations, for the lessons she probably never realized she was teaching. Before I left, she offered one final thought. "When visitors come here, they look at the train." She pointed gently toward the tracks. "After a while, they start looking at the people." I nodded. "That happened to me." She smiled. "Good." The sky slowly turned pink. Birds crossed overhead. Shadows deepened. The market prepared for evening. And somewhere inside me, a belief I had carried for years quietly disappeared. I had often thought remarkable places were remarkable because of unusual things. A giant building, a famous monument, a rare event, something extraordinary. But Maeklong Railway Market taught me something different. Sometimes remarkable places are remarkable because of ordinary people. People who show patience. People who show kindness. People who adapt together. People who make room for one another. The train simply helped me notice. And as darkness slowly approached, I realized that the most important thing hidden between the rails was never the train itself. It was the wisdom of the people who lived beside it every day. Chapter 5. After the last train. The next morning, I woke before sunrise. The small guest house room was quiet. Outside the window, the sky was still dark blue. For a few moments, I simply listened. A distant rooster crowed. Somewhere nearby, a motorcycle engine started. The world was waking slowly, gently, the way it often does in small Thai towns. I sat beside the window with a cup of coffee. Steam curled upward into the cool morning air. Today, I would leave Maeklong, but something told me not to rush. There was one more train to see, one more walk through the market, one more chance to understand why this place had stayed in my thoughts all night. So after breakfast, I returned. The market was already alive. Vendors arranged fruit. Fresh herbs arrived in baskets. Ice was being spread across seafood displays. The familiar smells greeted me once again. Lemongrass, chili, fresh fish, grilled pork, strong coffee, sweet coconut. The market felt different now, not because it had changed, but because I had changed. Yesterday, I had arrived as an observer, a visitor looking for something unusual. Today, I arrived feeling strangely familiar with the place. I recognized faces. People recognized me. A few vendors smiled and waved. The tea seller nodded. The coconut sweet vendor greeted me. Even the cat sleeping beneath a table seemed to be occupying the same spot as yesterday. For a brief moment, I felt less like a tourist and more like a temporary neighbor. The feeling was comforting. The morning light spread across the railway tracks. Golden reflections shimmered on the steel rails. A gentle breeze moved through the market. The sound of conversations drifted through the air. Some people discussed prices. Others talked about family. A grandmother laughed with a customer she clearly had known for years. Nearby, a father helped his daughter arrange vegetables on a table. Everything felt wonderfully ordinary, and somehow, that ordinariness had become beautiful. I found Molly once more at her fish stall. She was already busy preparing for the day. When she saw me, she smiled. "You came back. I wanted to say goodbye." She nodded. "Good." Then she handed me a small bag. Inside was a piece of grilled fish. "Breakfast." I laughed. "You always make sure I eat." In Thailand, she said, people worry if guests are hungry. I had heard variations of that idea many times during my travels. Food was never just food. It was hospitality, care, connection, a way of saying, You are welcome here." As I ate, the morning train approached. The familiar bell rang. The familiar movements began. Umbrellas folded. Baskets moved. Customers stepped aside. The railway appeared once again. But this time, everything felt different. Yesterday, I had watched with amazement. Today, I watched with understanding, or at least a little more understanding. The train entered the market. Slowly, calmly, almost elegantly, the engine passed. Then the carriages. Passengers leaned from windows. Tourists raised cameras. Locals smiled. The same scene repeated itself. Yet now I could see something deeper. The train was not interrupting life. It was participating in it. A visitor might see conflict. A railway and a market competing for space. But the people here saw cooperation, a shared rhythm, a daily partnership. And perhaps that difference in perspective explained everything. The train disappeared. The market reopened. Life resumed. Just as it always had. Just as it likely would tomorrow. And the day after that, and years from now, I spent the rest of the morning walking slowly through the market one final time. No rush, no checklist, no photographs, just observation. I watched an elderly woman carefully arrange flowers. I watched a young vendor help an older neighbor move a heavy basket. I watched children carrying bags for their grandparents. Again and again, I noticed small acts of kindness. Nothing dramatic. Nothing designed for attention. Simply people helping one another. The sort of kindness that often goes unnoticed, yet somehow forms the foundation of a community. Around noon, I returned to Somchai's tea stall. The old man poured tea exactly as he had yesterday. Slowly, patiently, without hurry, I sat beside him. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. We simply watched the market. Finally, he broke the silence. "So," I smiled. "So, what did you learn?" The question seemed simple, but the answer was not. I looked across the railway, the stalls, the vendors, the customers, the tracks, the umbrellas, the ordinary beauty of daily life. Then I answered honestly. "I thought I came here to see a train." Somchai nodded. "And?" "I think I came here to understand people." A smile appeared on his face. The kind of smile that suggested approval. Not because I was correct, but because I had finally asked the right question. For a while, we sat quietly. The market continued around us. A dog wandered past. Someone laughed. A bicycle rolled by. The sounds blended together into a peaceful rhythm. Then Somchai spoke once more. "Many visitors see something unusual." I nodded. "The train." "Yes." He poured another cup of tea. "But unusual things are easy to remember." "What is harder to remember?" He looked toward the market. "The ordinary things." I understood immediately. The train would appear in photographs. The train would appear in travel guides. The train would appear on social media. But the patience of the vendors, the kindness between neighbors, the trust that allowed everything to function, those things were harder to capture. Yet they were far more important. As the afternoon approached, it became time for me to leave. I said goodbye to Somchai, then to Mali, then to several vendors whose names I never learned. Each farewell felt unexpectedly meaningful. Perhaps because the market had given me more than a story. It had given me a lesson, one I suspected would remain with me for many years. I walked toward the station. Behind me, the market continued. Customers bargained. Vendors smiled. Life moved forward. The railway stretched through the center exactly as it always had. And suddenly, I realized why this place fascinated people from around the world. Not because a train passes through a market, but because the market reveals something universal. Life is full of interruptions, unexpected changes, challenges, delays, things we cannot control. Many people spend their lives fighting those realities, resenting them, complaining about them, trying to eliminate every inconvenience. Yet the people of Maeklong had chosen another path. They adapted, they adjusted, they cooperated, and then they carried on. Not perfectly, not dramatically, simply gracefully. As my train slowly departed the station, I looked out the window one final time. The market became smaller. The railway faded into the distance. The colorful umbrellas disappeared from view. Soon there was only countryside again. Rice fields, palm trees, open sky. The rhythmic sound of wheels on tracks returned. Steady, relaxing, almost hypnotic, I leaned back into my seat. Outside, Thailand drifted peacefully past, and I thought about the belief that had brought me here. I had assumed the market existed because of the train, but now I understood. The market existed because of the people. The train was simply a guest that visited several times each day. The true heart of Maeklong was not made of steel rails. It was made of patience, community, adaptation, and kindness. Those were the things that kept the market alive. Those were the things hidden between the tracks. The afternoon sun warmed the train window. The countryside glowed softly beneath golden light. My eyes grew heavy. The gentle motion of the train felt soothing, peaceful, comforting, and as I watched Thailand slowly pass by, I realized something. Before coming here, I believed remarkable places were built from extraordinary events. Now I knew something different. Sometimes the most remarkable places in the world are built from ordinary people doing ordinary things with extraordinary grace. The train continued forward. The rails stretched endlessly ahead, and somewhere behind me, in a small Thai town, a bell would ring once again. Umbrellas would fold, baskets would move, a train would pass. The market would reopen, and life would continue. Just as it always had, just as it always will, the end. Thailand still holds countless stories waiting to be discovered. If you would like to continue this journey together, I hope to see you again in the next story from Thailand Through Eyes. And if there is somewhere in Thailand you wish to visit through story, leave your suggestion below. Perhaps our next journey will begin there.